Hi, journeyers. Welcome to A Journey Through NYC Religions Television. I'm your host, Tony Carnes. A new group of Asian American community leaders have arisen across the nation, and they caught our attention. They are maybe best called the New Wave Asian Americans. They have come to the public forum because they are reacting against some progressive policies that have threatened to increase crime, lower standards in schools, and increase the amount of racial tension and violence, including Asian American attacks. This new group have come forth to say the approach to creating peace and social order in our community and improvement needs to be changed. One of those people is Helen Qiu, or Helen Qiu, we'll call her. And that's welcome to the program, Helen.
Thank you, Tony. I'm very honored to be invited to your program.
Now, you are running for the State Assembly representative for the State Assembly representative for District 85?
65.
65.
65 Lower Manhattan.
Yes, which includes Chinatown and the Lower East Side.
Correct.
Now, you are by background an engineer and a pastor. How did you decide to go into politics?
Well, I have become aware of our predicament in New York City in the past 2 years, especially the past 2 years, that our crime has been surging. And the entire area that I represented, you can see shops close at 5, 6 o'clock, and you can see people are afraid to even take on subways. And this has to stop. So that motivated me to actually contribute more actively to join a race to occupy the office, because I know the law that passed that will make us have this kind of misery is a law that passed in the assembly in 2019, in April 2019. So if we have sufficient people to repeal this, I call it crime bill, if we can repeal this very dangerous law, we will have good hope to turn our city and our state around.
What did this, let's set the stage. April 2019, what did the bill do that has caused a rise in crime?
It's under a very beautiful name. Any very bad things usually have very beautiful names, Tony. So this is a very beautiful name. If I just mention the name, you and I will both get on board, because it's called bail reform. And we know in the entire justice system require reform, this and that in a variety of areas. We know that the jail system needs to be reformed. We know that the management needs to be reformed, the condition, the entire justice system, how things are being progressed and being judged. There are a lot of areas that needs reform. So you and I, if I ask you what you think that we need reform, of course, because we all want better things, more just, more justice for the entire population.
Now,
however,
what did the cashless bail bill do that?
Exactly. So this bail reform has a beautiful name, but it does awful things. What it does, Tony, is that when someone committed a crime, let's say I grab your bag today, that is a crime. However, people will be arrested, but instead of being booked for their crime and waited in jail or temporary facilities to wait for their hearing, they are being released on bail. So if someone committed a crime without bail, they cannot be released. That will deter a lot of criminals, because they know if they commit a crime, they will not be released on bail because they don't have bail money. So it will deter them before they committed a crime. But if there's no cash requirement to bail a criminal, after they get committed a crime, during the time when they're waiting for a hearing, that's the period, and final decision will be made in court to determine whether that person actually committed a crime and what kind of sentence and punishment that will ensue. So during that period, right now, they can wait without bail. And that create a false impression to the public that people can commit crime with no consequences. So that passed in April 2019.
There was almost an immediate impact, as you know, that in October 5th, 2019, a man who had been released twice by a group of, unfortunately, reformers, that they released twice without bail. In fact, their slogan was, and this is a quote, it was a student group that worked for this guy that was released: "Subvert the cash bail system by bailing out as many people as possible." That was the quote. So they got the guy out, and he ended up in Chinatown. He was a homeless person on the night of October 5th, 2019. Do you remember that incident where he killed 4 people in Chinatown? Chun Kwok, Nazario Villegas, Florencio Comano, and Anthony Mason. 2 of them who, though they were homeless, like Chun Kwok, was going to church, trying to get his life together. This guy had attacked the police in May on the subway in May with a knife, a machete, had been let go with no bail, then got arrested again and let go. And then he came down to Chinatown for some reason and proceeded to commit a horrific crime. Do you recall that crime?
Yes, that crime is atrocious, Tony, and that crime happened within 100 meters from my campaign office.
Really?
Yes.
When did you first hear about the crime?
I heard about the crime, and then I was shocked. I don't recall when I first heard about it, but I was probably when it was being reported. That's when I heard. But when I heard about it, I was not running for office.
Yeah.
And I was not very aware of why this person was released. Until later, that's when I was become more politically aware about our state's affair and realized, this is because of the crime bill. I call it a crime bill that was passed in April. So it's very senseless for us to not administer justice. So on the one hand, we want justice for false accusations, or when people, because that things does happen when people are being accused falsely under the circumstances. Maybe someone is being arrested for a crime that person did not commit. So it is unjust, I agree. But just bail reform does not mean that we can release everyone. And for correcting a mistake in the justice system. So that requires nuances. So the 2019 cashless bail reform law has absolutely no nuance. That is the reason why this bill is a complete and utter failure. So we need to make sure that we can have a bill that require nuances, require special conditions, require people, actual real human beings, to review case by case. And so rather than using a blanket policy, have no nuances, very coarse, very foolish, and utter failure, we have to actually have people that has justice in their heart to review each case and make judgment.
Now,
Which our current system lack because we don't have enough people that can do that.
in Chinatown and the Lower East Side, do people think like you on this, or what do you hear? Do they say, "Oh, we like the system now, and you know, no bail, no jail for people," you know, or do they say it needs to be changed and we need a leadership change to do it? Or what are people saying?
I think there are many layers. One is we need to know why this happened, why our safety has almost completely lost. We fear going to the subway, we fear going to on the streets, and people get released left and right. You can use a knife, you even use a gun. 80% of the gun-related crimes were released within 2 hours. 80%, Tony, gun-related. Someone can pull a gun on you. As long as they don't shoot you, they grab your back and they are released. We have 80% of these cases. So it's insane. So people need to know why this is happening. Some people are blaming the police, which is incorrect because the police did arrest the person and they are blaming the police for releasing them. But the police have to release them according to the law. So a lot of people don't understand or getting to understand that the law is the reason why these people are released. So
well, I'm curious, in Chinatown, where you're quite familiar with, are people now realizing that, or is you still got a
yes,
lot of education?
I think I am the one that bring a lot of light to this topic because on my campaign slogan, I say, I will repeal cashless bail law. So for people who don't understand what it means, they will end up asking, what does she mean? So the moment they ask, voila, that's exactly what we want to create. So people ask the questions and realize I'm directly opposite from my opponent who want to commit it to keep it. So my opponent even used the word committed. You know, that's not a word you use lightly because you commit to it's a big commitment. You know, my opponent said she's committed to keep the bail reform law, and her name is Grace Lee. So Grace Lee Grace Lee is committed to keep this cashless bail law, and I want to repeal it. So I'm committed to repeal it. She's committed to keep it.
Okay.
We are direct opposite in terms of public safety.
We won't go in too much of the politics because of that. We want to let you make the case.
Yes.
But we're not very political as a program.
Well, no problem.
But I do have as a question. I have one other question that is strange to me. Is there lots of turnstile jumping? And what do they do? I see people jumping the turnstile in the subway, and nothing seems to happen.
I agree. So we hope to fix that. However, at this point, I see so much more atrocious crimes. People use a bag of feces to smack on other people's face with no reason, unprovoked and unrelated. People were just sitting there and then they smashed that, and that person was released. And 2 weeks later, the same person used the lifting weight to smash a storage store's windows. The exact same person.
Well,
so how do you explain that? Then yes, I think we need to, we need to arrest the person, that probably fine and not necessarily arrest. Find the person who jumped the subway fares and find the person doing that. But what do we do with the person that smashed the human feces on the other person's face? And then we also have people that go over on the subway, point blank, for no reason, unrelated, unprovoked. Someone was even taking a nap. They point blank, shoot that person to death. And that happened to a train that was riding through my district in Chinatown. and also Lower East Side. And so we have many of these cases, and we have to answer to those as a
Now,
city, as a state.
Helen, some people say, well, the way to address this is to add more homeless shelters and mental health facilities in Chinatown. How
Well,
do you want to add more homeless shelters in Chinatown?
absolutely no. And the
No?
reason is not because we are not compassionate about the homeless community. I am a Christian pastor, as you know, and maybe one of the reasons you are interested in my race. I'm a Christian pastor. I work with homeless people. So I actually talk to the homeless people. A lot of the politicians, they talk about these ideas, solutions. They never ever talk to one homeless people. I have talked to over hundreds of homeless people, not because of my race. Way before I run as a Christian pastor, I have been Christian pastor for over 15 years. So I have been talking and working with homeless people for that long. And I have always asked them the same question. Why are you not staying in the homeless shelter? There are a variety of reasons. I know one person, for example, several years ago on New Year's Eve, on New Year's Day, I met this homeless person. I asked him, why are you not going to homeless shelter? And I know a shelter, I can take you. He said he doesn't like you. He doesn't like the small space. He liked to be out in the open.
So how do we solve the homeless problem?
So that's one homeless. And then I asked other homeless people, they say inside the homeless shelters, they got beat up, they got stolen. Homeless shelters are only 5 to 7% occupied. That means our tax dollars are going to 93% wasted. We are maintaining rooms that nobody even occupy and serve nobody. So this has to be acknowledged. We have to serve people where they are. If a lot of the homeless crowd, they like to be in the spacious space, have their own private places. And can we provide that in New York City? I don't think so, because New York City, by nature, all our apartments is one right next to each other. And we don't have open field. It's not like suburbs that we have a big yard in the front, in the back, but that's what they like. So what do we solve the problem? I believe we can solve the problem in New York State. That's why I'm running for New York State Assembly, because I believe our city or many other major cities, Buffalo has homeless issues that they need to solve. They have a homeless problem.
Helen,
We
something
need to
you
solve
brought
it
up.
in the homeless New York State.
Helen, you brought up something that I'd like to find out a little bit about. You mentioned that you're a pastor.
Yes.
Let me ask you a little bit about your faith life. Did you grow up as a Christian, or no? How did that come about?
I had an Apostle Paul experience, so I was converted, and we can probably, I was converted to be a Christian. I realized I'm a sinner, and God has saved my life, and I love Jesus because He saved me. So I have a conversion experience just like Apostle Paul, and that was why I quit my very high level executive position. I was a level 10 program manager in Sun Microsystem in Silicon Valley. So that was a very high position, because level 11 is regional vice president. So I'm one level under the regional vice president. But I resigned from that job.
Yes.
In order to serve my Lord, because I felt the Lord called me to serve Him. I was wondering, should I do it? I was debating with the Lord, but God made me feel like I really should. So I served the Lord for 15 years. I resigned from my job, actually more than 15 years, because I took some time to do my seminary training. So if you include that time, it has been 20 years. And I have been a Christian pastor for a long time. So I have my path, my faith path is is one that full of grace, full of God's love. So I thank God for that. And now I felt I'm being called to serve the public in a political position. And I hope that I know my constituents, I know them. I'm actually going to provide real help. I want to be real. I don't want to be having all these nonsense policies that sound good, have a nice name, but actually doing nothing for our people. So our people in New York suffer enough. Enough is enough. I don't want no nonsense. I want to keep it real for our people.
Now, I think we should explain to our viewers that we are joined by Lemon and Blueberry during the broadcast.
Oh, yes. I noticed they are being very excited. If you hear some parakeet chirps, that's because I got two birds in the background.
We're very glad to have them in the studio audience.
Thank you. Thank you for bearing with them. I appreciate that.
And I guess they must be gossiping with each other about what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess, Tony, I can get all the votes for animal activists.
Well, that's
anybody who has a pet. If you have a pet bird, have a dog, have a cat, if you're advocating for animals, vote for Helen, right?
Okay, yes, that's exactly right. You know, I wanted to also ask you about another big issue that's going on, and that is our education system. As you know, there's been a big fight over one merit test.
Yes.
Well, there should be merit tests, and also what criteria by which we should accept people into our elite programs like Stuyvesant or Brooklyn Tech or one of the other high schools that are admit students who can perform at a very high level. Can you tell us a little bit about this controversy and how you approach it?
Okay. Yes, this year, actually last year as well, there has been a lottery program. So the specialized high school tests are being overlooked. People can take it, but not using that. So I have heard people who score 95 percentile, and then they did not even enter into any of the 12 schools they chose. And they end up going to a school they did not choose. So I have heard stories of that. I don't think there are a lot of those stories, but there are some of those stories that I think it's very hurtful for the students get involved, that they did not get to their schools, even though they score very well. So for me, I think we need a two-way approach. So I want to, number one, on the one hand, I want to affirm merit-based education, because that's what people are being measured, and they do hard work, they're being measured. Academically, they get a chance to go to good schools. You can be, and it's beyond your income level. So what I like about merit-based is people can work hard, even though you are not from a wealthy family, but you can go to a good school. So that is why we need merit-based. So the people that's attacking merit-based is attacking all the people who are not wealthy, but work hard. So that's why I want to emphasize, if you work hard, you want to be rewarded, vote for Helen, right? So that's on the one hand, on the merit-based. On the other hand, I also recognize, Tony, that not everybody is talented academically, right? We know many wonderful people. Michael Jordan, he's not necessarily the best mathematician out there. We cannot expect Michael Jordan to perform an operation on your stomach, right? But Michael Jordan is very good in playing basketball, and LeBron James is very good at playing basketball. But can we expect LeBron James to write a beautiful poetry? Maybe not. But can we expect Einstein to play basketball? No, not at all either. So what I'm saying is that people are gifted. I believe every child is gifted, every single child. So, but people are gifted differently. Some people are gifted with skills with their hands. Maybe they can be a good plumber. maybe they can be a good cook, maybe they can be a good singer, and maybe they can be the next LeBron James, right? So all these people, we need to have a variety of after-school programs, career-based high schools, in couple with merit-based high schools. Let every children work hard. So if you're lazy, you don't work hard, then sorry, you don't get to go to good schools or career-based schools.
You know,
But if
I
you
should
work
add-
hard, you get to go to good merit-based academic schools and also get to go to maybe a good culinary school, a good sports school. Maybe LeBron James can found a school in New York. I will be very happy to work with him. Or Michael Jordan can found a school called Michael Jordan High School, you know, to accept children that have particular gift and also willing to work hard. So underline every gift. If children works hard, I want them to have an opportunity.
Well, you know, this is
to
very
express.
personal to us here at A Journey. Our producer,
Yes,
Brian Finnerty,
yes,
his two siblings and himself, Ann and Peter, came from an immigrant family, worked very hard, ended up in Bronx Science, I believe, and graduated. And that became a way they could move up very quickly
exactly,
as an
exactly,
immigrant.
exactly.
And yet there's also there seem to feel that if a school has too high a standards, maybe we need to bring the standards down. Do you get that feeling? Is that right?
No, I think actually a lot of the standards are not high at all. I think a lot of the math standards can be higher. A lot of science standard maybe can be higher or more diverse. So I don't think so. But I have to look at the curriculum in more specifics so that I don't make a very general comment. Yeah.
Helen, let me interrupt here for a moment. We're going to be
Please.
running out of time. I invite you to the program because yes, you have a faith-based background and also representative of a new wave Asian American leadership that's emerging.
Thank
We're
you.
really happy to have you on the program. Thank you for answering my questions on our audience questions. Audience, I'm Tony Carnes, your host for A Journey Through NYC Religions, and we're very happy that you were able to be with us. Bye-bye.